If you're a Cleveland Browns fan looking for a break from the emotional roller coaster that is the price we pay from loving then hating our Browns, then a big welcome to Cleveland Browns Anonymous, a group therapy podcast to help you survive the season. So let's start our meeting.
Hi, everybody. This is Mike Riley with Brooke Riley here, talking about the Browns. Jameis Winston, he's a roller coaster. Today's title is, where do the Browns go from here, and do we really need to draft a quarterback? Brooke, thoughts about Jameis and that wild roller coaster ride at Denver?
Yeah, well, I mean, he had almost 500 yards, I think.
500. That's about, almost 3 games with Deshaun?
Yeah. He had, I think, wasn't it 2 pick sixes and 4 touchdowns? So
Yeah, 6 touchdowns.
yeah, so total 6. And Jerry Jeudy, I guess, is a number 1 wide receiver. And who knew that these receivers could actually catch the ball?
Yeah. How about those other 2 guys we hardly hear?
Yeah, Elijah Moore, Cedric Tillman.
And no, Cedric Tillman didn't even play. This other guy, Woods the third. He had
yeah.
5, 6 catches?
Yeah, I mean,
It's amazing what.
I remember when we got word that Jameis was going to be the starter, and a lot of people from New Orleans and Tampa said, look, what you're going to get is a lot of throws, a lot of touchdowns, a lot of interceptions. He loves to throw. So I think we're seeing it, and I think he deserves every right to continue to be the starter, definitely for the rest of the season and for next year.
Yeah. No, he's won the job. And none of this bullshit that Deshaun's coming back. And no, you've got to earn your job. And I think that is what was lacking with the Browns and Deshaun Watson. This guy never earned the job. He was given the job because of his big contract,
Right.
And all the draft capital we sent. And there is a terrible, what's the word, thread that's running through the Browns locker room, that really you have a special case. Speaking of special cases, Russell Wilson had that deal, mega deal with Denver.
Yeah, they cut their losses, and now they're going to the playoffs.
Now they cut their losses, and now they're running to the playoffs, right? And then look at what happened to Russell Wilson with Pittsburgh. Russell Wilson, 1 year with Sean Payton last year, Russell Wilson was in the doghouse throughout that year. I mean, I'm surprised that Sean Payton didn't have him carry the water bucket around.
Yeah, apparently the story was before Sean Payton got the job in Denver and that previous head coaching group went out and got Russell, they gave Russell Wilson an office. And the first thing Sean Payton did when he got the head coaching job was he went to Russell and was like, you don't have an office.
You have a locker.
You have a locker.
A locker in the locker room. That is your office, right?
So
These are your coworkers here.
that immediately sent a message. And no, all the props to Jameson. You know, like you'll see the TikToks afterwards, the press conferences, and I mean, he says some really funny stuff, but you could just tell how genuine he is.
Huh.
You know, I think he's found his religion, maybe he's found sobriety, and I mean, he sounds so genuine and earnest, and you can watch it on the sidelines that the team just loves him. You know,
and so does the town.
oh yeah,
It's Joe Flacco too here. Yeah, I mean, isn't it amazing? And I think let's get back to Russell Wilson because I think it ties into our theme here. Do we really need to draft a quarterback? I've been saying on this podcast, and I was cautioning Amari here, our engineer, not to watch that I don't repeat myself. So I'm going to repeat myself here. I have said for many podcasts that Deshaun Watson needed, this is before he was hurt, he needed to be pulled and sat on the bench, a la Russell Wilson last year. Russell Wilson got his ass seated on the bench from Sean Payton, who, by the way, guess coaching tree is Sean Payton? Bill Parcells, another guy who seems to get the most out of these retreads. Can you imagine Bill Parcells working with Deshaun Watson? This guy wouldn't know what hit him. And if the front office, Jimmy Haslam, Andrew Barry, Paul DePodesta, tried to interfere, what do you think Bill Parcells would have said?
He would have said, "This is my team, or I'm leaving."
Click. Yeah. Yeah, don't ever call me again. Vince Lombardi, don't ever call me again. No, this is where we're going. This is why you hire a Bill Parcells, a Lombardi, a Hall of Fame coach, because they're supposed to get you to the promised land. You're supposed to give them the tools, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Sean Payton is from the Bill Parcells team. And you're already seeing it. You're already seeing it with the Broncos. Now, maybe Kevin Stefanski should start taking some notes and write in his journal and start channeling his inner Sean Payton or Bill Parcells, because that is what the Browns need. We don't need as a city another organization man who plays nice with the front office. We all speak with one voice. Sometimes the best ideas come from conflict and arguments. The best ideas. They don't happen necessarily from consensus.
Hey, let's stop here. We got to pay some bills. 30 seconds, and we'll be back. Getting your house ready to sell, or you just need some basic repairs, and you can't get anybody to come out or even return your phone call. Then call Riley Painting and Contracting, your home mechanics, for all of your home repair needs, from electrical, plumbing, roof repairs, and getting your house ready to sell. 45 years in the business, a AAA on the Better Business Bureau, and we're on the preferred contractor list in Cleveland Heights and Shaker Heights. You can contact us by calling 216-371-8160 and leave a message. And guess what? We'll call you back.
Yeah, I think what Jimmy Haslam wanted when he hired Stefanski, and why he's sticking with him and the GM, is he wanted consistency, and he wanted a team that partnered up and they believed in the same thing. And I think that's what they've been doing ever since Stefanski and Barry have been together. So I think they need to elevate it to the next level, where Stefanski needs to, really start inserting his voice and his opinion. And I had forgotten that HBO is doing the Hard Knocks on the AFC North. So I'm curious to see. I haven't watched anything yet, but that show is based off, behind the scenes. There's cameras everywhere. So I'd be curious to see what Stefanski is like after a loss in those meetings, because we obviously aren't privy to seeing that. So I don't think he's a choir boy. I think when he's in front of the press, he's very elegant and considerate, and I don't want to say soft, but he's very polite. And I suspect that behind closed doors, if he needs to get in someone's face, that he does. So I'm curious to see what he's like, like after the loss to like the Cowboys or like the Raiders. Like, I want to see how he interacted with Deshaun after those games. I think we'll be able to see that because it's been since the Cowboys game.
Well, I don't want to forget my thread about Russell Wilson, and let me end that and then jump to the thread you have.
Well, he'll be in this HBO thing.
Well, look at Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
It's amazing what happens when you get benched. You get benched and you get traded to a team like Pittsburgh. Going into the opening game in Pittsburgh, he was the number 2 guy.
Well, he was hurt. And I remember that scene in Moneyball where Billy Beane is going up to David Justice, and David Justice says, "Hey man, you're paying me $8 million. I'm special." And Billy Beane says, I'm paying, I think, half that.
Nothing.
The Yankees are paying half of your salary not to play on their team. Russell Wilson is going through the same thing.
Right.
The Broncos are paying him $50 million to not play.
Right.
Pittsburgh, being the smart
Organization
that they are, said, "You're picking up 50. All right. Russell, we'll pay you the veteran
Minimum.
of
Yeah.
$1 million. So
Yeah.
knowing, I mean, obviously I don't know Russell, but he seems like a very like kind of humble guy. I'm sure he saw that and was like, holy shit. This is
Well, but think about it. Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, they have never had failure in their lives. You know, Russell Wilson was a top quarterback at the University of Wisconsin.
I don't know, throwing a game-losing interception in the Super Bowl.
Well, whatever. He got to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He's playing. He's a starter. I'm not talking about Tom Brady like success, but these guys have been successful in all walks of their life. And the reality is that sometimes the best quarterback, look at Sam Darnold, look at Geno Smith, look at Russell Wilson on Pittsburgh. Look at these guys. They hit rock bottom, you know, in their careers in the NFL. You know, they were considered damaged goods. And that's what Deshaun Watson has. Baker was another one. You could go right down the line.
Jared Goff.
Right, Goff. And I don't think what Stefanski and Barry understand is, first of all, Barry's got to take it up another level in terms of a GM. Because if his fingerprints were on this, he was a player, he didn't caution Haslam, then this was a terrible roll of the dice. Okay, own it. Learn from it. Grow from it. Okay? The same thing goes with Stefanski. Stefanski, like a lot of these offensive coordinators, quarterback coaches, whatever, I mean, look, they're not ready for these prime time Bill Parcells kind of moments where they've got to bench a Drew Bledsoe like Belichick did. Not only bench him, but, you know, when he came back, he was the face of the organization. Tom Brady's playing. Tom Brady won the Super Bowl for him. You talk about Hall of Fame decision, playing Brady over a known commodity, Drew Bledsoe, because he saw. Now, Stefanski's got a, you know, I mean, it's too bad. I mean, you can say, well, Hard Knocks, we'll see how Stefanski is. We already know how Stefanski is. He kept playing Baker a couple of years ago when Baker was clearly not as good as Case Keenum. Clearly. Okay? And then he had the same thing with Deshaun Watson when Watson was beyond terrible. He's the worst quarterback in the league. And he kept putting him out there. And I think it's too bad the fan base can't get straight answers from this corporate speak. They're forced to listen. It's bad enough that our Sundays are now ruined. We have no chance of the playoffs. We got all this great talent and everything is going sideways. And I got to listen to Coach Stefanski say the same shit he said 2 years ago. It begs the question, do you know what you're doing? Or is this moment too much for you? So thankfully, I'm sorry Watson got hurt, but we got Jameis there. Please don't do a Joe Flacco on me and let Jameis go. Really? Because Stefanski seems to thrive in getting the most out of these retreads, right? Yeah. Case Keenum took the Vikings to the playoffs, right? Yeah. So did Joe Flacco. And there's no reason why Stefanski can't sprinkle some of his magic and maybe cut down the interceptions, and maybe Jameis doesn't have to throw 58 times, right? Maybe he only throws 30 times, and maybe we get a left tackle, right?
Yeah, just get best player.
Get best player. Maybe we get a...
Yeah, just do what the Lions are doing.
Yeah.
They didn't draft a quarterback. They got Jared Goff. They let him kind of work out some kinks for a couple of years, and they drafted that offensive lineman, defensive lineman. I mean, they built the trenches, and now they're probably going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and they look great. Yeah. With a retread named Jared Goff.
Who's now an MVP candidate.
Right, right. And look
but their head coach is legit.
Yeah.
That team loves that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that dude is like, you know, in your face, motivating. So it's going to be a very curious off season.
Yeah.
And they got Pittsburgh on Sunday in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Yeah. Jameis. All right. We will see. All right. Well, let's end it there. We'll pick it up after the Steelers game. Thanks, Brooke.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Cleveland Browns Anonymous podcast with Mike Riley. We have a lot more content on the way as we get this new podcast started. You can also check out some of our other podcasts like the Cleveland Real Estate Investor Podcast and other new ones that will start soon. On any platform that you find yourself listening to us on, feel free to leave us a like or a comment or follow us. It always helps.